So my story starts from my story, my family story. I'd like to say that my family are from Reading originally. They moved here before 2 years before I was born. So yeah, I mean, God bless it, they did move here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But that background story is my nan. Yeah, so she's like a quite a root, let's say, at the beginning of our story. She moved to Southampton knowing that she wanted a change. But then the 2 years that she was here, I think before I was born, before I come along, was like she did basically just did, she moved the city, but you know when you can't take the city out of the girl. Do you know what I mean? So she moved here and ended up being this London kind of Reading girl that had come down to she would say explain it as a countryside. Yeah. And when they moved here, they moved to Eastleigh. Um, and there was a bit of like racial thing because my uncle he's Jamaican, Barbadian, I don't know, one of the two. And there was a bit of racist scene going on, so they moved about a bit. I think they lived Eastleigh, Woolston, um, where else, and then I think Shirley. They moved all around Southampton, but yeah, they started in Eastleigh, then they went to Woolston, and I think that's when I was conceived, as it be. Um, So when we moved to St Denis, there was seven of us in the house. So it was me as a newborn child. It was my uncles, two uncles, my mum, my nan, her sister, and then sometimes my other uncles used to come down from Reading as well. So there was a few of, and then also my dad. But with my dad, it wasn't actually my father. But I didn't recognize that until later on in life. So yeah, so from St Denis, me and mum and dad moved out to Saltmead, and then my brother was born. I'm pretty sure that's how it went, and then we was in Northam Estate, and we moved back to Saltmead, and then we went back to Northam. So it was a lot of moving about. So we was at Northam from about 6, I think, till 12, and I think that's where my story starts of like where I got my culture from. Northam Estates, obviously near St Mary's, so it's a lot of gang violence. Do you know what I mean? We were kids at the time, so we didn't really see it, but it was still around us, if you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, my nan was saved. She said a year and a half before I was born. So for her to be living in a house with my mum, my uncle, people that are not of God, it could have been very hard. Do you know what I mean? The temptations, the mountains she would have to have climbed to hold her tongue. Da, 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 da. She talking about God. Do you know what I mean? You go and fill yourself with the Spirit and then come away from the Spirit and put yourself into the enemy. Do you know what I'm saying? That can sway you back to that lifestyle. But she held strong. She used to take me to church all the time. So I was brought up in church. So with the Bible stories, Joseph, Moses, do you know what I mean? David and Goliath, I knew all of them. I watched all the films. Um, and I think it was up until I was about 14, I was at Central Hall Church. And then I think at that point in time when I was 14 was when we was in Northern Estate. We was there till I was about 12. And then at 12, we left Northern Estate and we moved out and we got a new house in Thornhill. So we went from one side to the other basically. Um, yeah, we went to Thornhill, and then from there, I think is where I was morely branching out to like chilling with different people. Because I went to school Bitton Park, so I'm in Thornhill, but Bitton Park's like, do you know what I mean? So in school, I would have started smoking, and then started chilling with people that were smoking weed and da 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 da. So I mean, my mum and dad they smoked weed my whole life, so I see it around me anyways. I knew what it was. It was bound for me to be doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? So and with culture and with the world, it's one of them things when you're a boy, isn't it? Like to be cool smoking in a smoking bush. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. So at 14, I was smoking weed, and then that's when I completely disregarded God completely. I was just like, ah, I know what it is. I know the stories, but this is my life, and I want to live it my way. And yeah. So from 14 upwards was I think I moved out of Thornhill when I was 16. So them 2 years were like the coldest, hardest part of my life. My mum and dad were together for 17 years, and at 15, my mum told me that I had a different father to my brother. Yeah, she pulled me because what happened was is my father was always in prison, and so he was not good role model for me. So, and then at the beginning, he said, "Oh, I don't want nothing to do with my kid. Like, I don't want nothing to do with it." But my stepfather took me on as his own. So he said, "I don't care what it is, I will have him and I will look after him," which he did do. And I thank God that he did, because he taught me right from wrong. He taught me, do you know what I mean, discipline. And yeah, respect your elders is a big thing that I have got. Um, so in that part, they split up. Then she told me, because my blood father had come out of prison, approached her and said, "Look, I've heard these stories that this is my kid and I want to know him. And it's either you set this up or I will tell him myself." So she's broke down crying in the kitchen, pulled me aside, and I'm like, it's weird because I kind of knew but didn't know. I'm a different color to my brothers and sisters. They're a bit darker than me complexion wise, a bit more coarse hair. I was always like straight hair, blue eyes. Do you know what I mean? And everyone at school used to say it. And me and my brother weren't brothers, and I'm like, but we are. My mum's Irish and my dad's black. Like I take after my mum's side. Um, so she told me. I mean, it wasn't. It was like a what? Confused, but kind of knew, but kind of didn't. And she's like, "Obviously, I don't want you to hate me." And I'm like, "I don't hate you. Like, it's one of them things, isn't it? Like, you were protecting me." So I met my real father, and at this point for a child, it was obviously so great. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I'm meeting my new dad. Like, yeah, all right, cool. And then met him, and big flash cars, a lot of money, big flash watches, this, that. Um, Within 2 years of meeting him, I'd already cut him out of my life. So from 15 to 16 was years when I was seeing my dad. And then he was obviously a drug dealer, and he was like messing around with it. So I was seeing it quite a lot, and I was around it quite a lot. And then at 16, I think I was the first time I went over, I'd already started selling weed on myself. And then at 16, I went somewhere for him to sell for him. So I basically sat, and then I basically hit all of his sales, and I just got free weed for it basically. You know what I mean? So, and then I'd done that for a week, and then I come away. I thought I've got loads of weed now, banging, carried on. So that's when I started my drug dealing. Um, Started with weed, then went on to ketamine, then went on to just party drugs. So from 14 to 16, that was a lot in that part of my life. At 15, my mum got with an abusive boyfriend. God has a plan for all of us, and I had to go through them things for me to then be saved at a point of time where you can't fathom God's timing, right? And I know it's not nice to go through all that, but the strength that I've got from that, the maturity that I've got from that, and what I can stand on now, and how I can use that to talk to different peoples of that, is a blessing. And I'll never, like, it's not nice to go through, but they're just past distant memories in my head that just thought it was just a season that we had to go through a struggle, and we weren't promised a happy life. Do you know what I mean? We're in God, we are, but we weren't promised a life without trials and tribulations. And yeah, so I'm just thankful that I did witness all that, because it matured me. It made me have to grow up, made me have to look after my brothers and kind of step different. Um, but yeah, after all of that, I think it's 17 is like, so at this point I'd already started raving, I started drug taking, pills, Mandy, whatever you want to call it. And at 17, my dad started acting, my real father started acting. At this point, I'd already disregarded my stepdad. We didn't really even spoke to him, didn't even cross my mind to even put him in the picture, because I was so self-indulged by having a new father. So um I started seeing him act weird. Like he went from this money and so persistent, precise, to a little bit more slack, like seeing dirt under his nails, and he just looked a bit more scruffy, and he never kept his trim up and stuff. I was thinking, right, what's going on? So one day, then I found needles in his bag and realized that he was on crack and heroin. And it was like one day we was in the car and we was driving, and he fell asleep at the steering wheel whilst we were in, like, stopped at the red light, and he just went down like, Dad. And he's like, oh. And then we went and parked up to go smoke some spliffs, and I sat and watched him roll a spliff, and it took him like 45 minutes to roll a spliff because he kept just dozing off in the spliff. And then by the end, when he had rolled it, all the weed was on the floor, and he was like, what's happened? You've smoked off all my weed. Kicked me out the car and made me walk home. So at this point, I'm thinking, right, there's definitely something wrong. Like, do you know what I mean? I knew I'd seen needles in his bag, and obviously, I'm just still trying to hold on to what I thought I had, which was good, but it wasn't good. And I knew in our culture, you don't do them things. That is, do you know what I mean? That's nasty, isn't it? Like, if you're going on culture wise, you know what I mean? Now I just know that they're lost people in it, and I've put in front of God that I'll forgive my dad for what he'd done. Do you know what I mean? Before it made me resent um drug addicts, yeah, like crack addicts. It made me resent them because of what my dad showed me. But now I've come to terms with that, and thanks be to God that I can say to God that I forgive my father for what he put me through, because at the end of the day, it's just another season, and it just makes me laugh. Do you know what I mean? Because if I never see all this stuff, I'm not then being able to. I would not then be able to use that to talk to other people to be able to be like, bro, like, I come from that life. I see that. My dad was that, but I'm out of it. And if it ain't for God, I don't know where I would be. Well, I'd probably be dead or in jail. So that happened, and basically he got himself involved with a lot of trouble with some people that were very dangerous, and it almost got me in the midst. So at that point there, I cut him off completely at 17. He went to jail, and he's been in jail ever since. It's one of them things that I'd battle with in my life, because in the day I have forgiven him for what he done, but where he was in my life for 2 years, I don't see him as a father. I see him as a person that was there, and a season. Do you know what I mean? You was there to teach me something, and then you left. Do you know what I mean? It's like an escalator, right? God's taking us to floor 50. He jumped off at floor 3. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm keep going, and you got to stay where you're at. So at this point, I then had to go and make peace with my dad, the one that brought me out, the one that taught me right from wrong, the one that might not be blood, but he is my father, because I am a. Do you know what I mean? I am him. Do you know what I mean? His mentality, his just he is part of my life, and I'm his child. So I made peace with him, and we're still good now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, obviously it wasn't gonna be not good. Do you know what I mean? I'm his kid, but I just had to go through that myself and witness it myself. So from 17 to now is the big change. Social services got involved. We all got separated. I had a choice. So Nan took us all on, so we didn't go into the system. Do you know what I mean? So we've been there ever since, say, like 10 years. Thanks be to Nan that she did take us on, because otherwise we could have been in the care system. From that point there, so we lived, so that's the background. And then it's literally from my Nan's house to now. And that was like turning 18, my raving days, parties, raves, festivals, you name it. I was there doing them, selling them, just involved in it completely. Um, I've always said that I was a Christian. Tattoos, like, I started my tattoos when I was 18, and I've always said that I was a Christian, but I know now that I was a Christian by head, not by heart. And that is the longest journey, right? The 14 or 16 inches it is between your head and heart. And I'd always say, yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, of course I'm a Christian. Like, that's because I was brought up in church. But I didn't realize what it meant. Had I ever read the Bible? No. Had I watched the films? Yeah, I watched the films. I knew the storyline. Um, but I was so self-indulged by the world, it had me by the hook. Do you know what I mean? Chasing after girls, chasing after that high life. Do you know, living that YOLO lifestyle where, like, yeah, I only live once anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'd be all right. I've got to live my life whilst I'm young. But not realizing that every time that I was doing it, did I make anything of the drug dealing? I made a nice wardrobe, materialistic things. And I just think that you have to go through a lot of stuff, and it took a lot of falls and a lot of things for me to stand now, and the discernment I have in the Bible to realize where I come from. I just thank God that he did put me through it all, because having all that trials and tribulations as a child wasn't my fault. That I had no, do you know what I mean? That was either my mum's past, my nan's past, my dad's doing, or when it got to the point of 18 to now, that is all my choice. And the drug dealing, the selling them, the taking them, going to parties, festivals, raves, that's all my choices. And don't get me wrong, I loved it. But it never took me anywhere. I'd be living weekend to weekend, paycheck to paycheck. Like, and I started off, I'm an electrician by trade, and I got that job at 18. And that's now 8 years. And it was the best thing I ever done. But I know God put that, it wasn't my gift. Do you know what I mean? He put that as a challenge for me to learn discipline, to sit down and actually get something done, which I did do. It took me like 4 or 5 years, but I done it. And that's something that I can now take with me for the rest of my life. No one can take that away from me. Um, Living in the Raven scene was great. So I thought, and it got to the point where I got a bit older. Then I started moving coke, and it just got more and more. And then I moved out of my nan's due to a girl, and that's when I started selling it more and more, and I started getting more and more, and I started bringing in more money, and it got to the point where I was taking in like 2 grand a week, and that was like including my wages. So I'm sat there thinking, but by the time I'd stopped, I had nothing. So what I was spending that on, I don't even know. Do you know what I mean? I was literally just spending it back on drugs, or back on raving, back on drink, or back on girls. And it got to the point where I had to fall so many times. Do you know what I mean? And at first, it was I started on the law of attraction, trying to talk myself into a better, positive way of thinking. And it was like, so I thought, I just pull myself back up and carry on and strive, and not thinking that you need to sit and just be patient. But I didn't know that. I knew the fast life. And the law of attraction was good. It taught me how to be positive. It taught me how to not keep a negative mindset. It taught me how to, like, I was doing breath work, meditation, like, and I don't see anything wrong. Now I see that if you're doing meditation for doing open up your chakras, and yeah, that's wrong. But meditation and putting prayer into it, I do it all the time. Breathe into your prayer, ask God to come into your presence, fill me with the Holy Spirit. I do that all the time. But then it was all like just trying to find this peace. And it's crazy that I started on that, because I feel like anyone that's on that path are halfway to God. But I feel like certain things that are in that is like worldly things that are trying to be God but ain't God. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't get absolute peace until I actually gave myself to Christ, and that was a year ago yesterday. Yeah, and yeah, now I'm sat here talking to you. It's crazy, the year I've had. And yeah, so it got to a point where there was a major slip. And what happened was, I come to church 2023. I started off an alpha course, and I basically, I wanted to change, but I was still very much doing it. So I was coming to church while I was doing it. Do you know what I mean? It was like church at 12, selling drugs at 2. Do you know what I mean? And I was living both lives. And then, but the thing is, once your eyes are open, they can never be closed, right? So I'm like trying to live this way, but also being drawn to this way. Then I got my nan back into church after 5 years. Do you know what I mean? She come away from the church for time. She didn't want to be in the church because of her own opinions and of people and stuff. But I got her back. So after 15 years of praying that I had stopped it and protection and this and that, I brought her back to church. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. It's like, I mentioned it in my book. It's about Joseph in the prison, yeah? So he went to Egypt at 17. He got made captain of the king's guard at 29, I think it would be. And then I actually done research. There's no recollection of how many years he was in the prison for, but we know that he went for 12 years of suffering. She done 12, 15 years of praying. But look what happened to Joseph. He come out the other side, and now he's made captain of the king's guard to rule over. Well, he's the reason that started the tribes, right, from different places and right at the beginning. So that in itself is like my nan praying and being patient. And do you know what I mean? Because like, that prison wasn't easy. That was dark, cold, but his dreams is what got him out. Nan's prayers is what got me out. And he answered her prayers in abundance, because I got her back to church, and now she loves this church like her home. Do you know what I mean? She's buzzing. She loves it. She's back in scripture every morning, like. And it's crazy how God can use not just you, but the people that are coming after you and before you even know it to draw you stronger to Him. So yeah, I started coming to church. I think for 3 months I was like done the Alpha course, feeling it, liking it. Started reading the Bible first time. I started audiobooking it because me and reading, I was dyslexic at like year 6, and so I've like struggled with reading, but I've got so much better at reading because I'm forcing myself to read. Um, so I started the audiobook in the Bible, got to about February, but I was still dabbling with both sides. And this is the thing, you can't, and this is what happened in February was my major thing that made me, I need to wake up. So basically, I met a girl and I went to Manchester and no, I went to London and I lost my phone. And then from there, I didn't come home. I went to Manchester with her. And then from there, I stayed there for 2 days, come back, missed 2 days of work with no phone. I had another phone because obviously it was my blower, whatever, you know what I mean, my selling drugs phone. And that was my spare. But because at this point I'd stopped. I'd completely handed it over, but I still had the phone. So I thought, that's right, I've lost that one. I've still got another one. Come home, went to work, and then that Thursday, this is during the week, so I missed 2 days of work. Then went to my mate's birthday meal. Ended up going out again that week, at that night. Missed work the next day. Lost my wallet, ID, everything. But what happened was, is the night that I come back, I basically went into my room, packed all my stuff for work, put my wallet in my bag, but didn't clock. So at this point, it's Friday now, and I missed that day. And then on the Saturday, the girl that we went out for the meal, she had her actual birthday night. I found my wallet, obviously. I thought, oh, great, I can go to her birthday night out. I kid you not, it is like you can't have one foot in and one foot out. Like the devil loves that. Do you know what I mean? The enemy loves that. And I was playing with the like his playground by having one foot in and one foot out. It's either the door's closed or the door's open. Do you know what I mean? And it's your choice to reclose that door and be on the better side. So that night, I was like, I think where I lost my phone, so I stopped doing the prayer app every morning and stopped listening to the Bible. I just come away from it, and it's how quickly that he could literally grab you when you're on the straight path and bring you back is crazy. That night I had 5 drinks. I don't remember anything after that. 5 drinks. I was gone, absolutely blackout drunk. I was basically what happened was is I went outside of the club and they basically I can't remember anything. My mate said that you two men come over and said something. You started with them, and I got jumped by the two men, kicked in the head, and had a seizure on the floor outside the club. I literally almost lost my life. And if it wasn't for, there's a girl, her name was, yeah, and she was in a taxi. Someone I knew, she was a nurse. This is what I'm saying, how God uses it. Like, it's like, you want to play that game here, you go and play that game. But he still had someone there. And this is what I'm saying, still to this day, is like she was literally gonna make like saving grace. Do you know what I mean? She stepped out of the taxi, I'm on the floor having a seizure, like choking on my own sick, and she's come over, put me in recovery position. So if it wasn't for her, I probably could have died that night. So that all happened. Next day, I woke up in a hotel room and I was shocked by the. I looked in the mirror and my whole face was just like, it was bad. My eye was completely bloodshot. Like, it was my face. I looked mash up. I went to work on the Monday, still disorientated, headache, and they was like, "What are you doing there?" And I'm like, "Well, I come for work, innit? I feel calm and I'm alright." And they basically was like, "Nah, you need to go to hospital." But I was all the way in, we was working far away. So the next day I didn't go to work. So this is like 4 or 5 days missed of work. So like, and then I went to the hospital and went in, and the first thing they said to me was like, "It looks like you've broken your eye socket." And I was like, "Okay." And there was like, yeah, like the bruising, the swelling, like this looks really bad. We're going to put you in front of the queue so we can find out what's happening with your face. All right, cool. Got in, got the x-rays done, and it come back and said, I don't understand how you haven't broken a bone, but you've literally just got bruising around your face, and it will go down within 4 or 5 days and you'll be fine. And I'm like, you just told me my, he said, anyone that comes in looking like that, it's normally caused by a break. She said you must have a hard face, or I don't know, because you haven't broke a single bone. You've just got bruising. And I was like, rah, okay. So I then, that I knew something had to change from that point. are thinking like, even though you allowed me to play around in the devil's playground, get into that much of altercation, within a week I was back to normal. Headaches were gone. But that week I basically, because basically I couldn't sleep because I had concussion, and I kept waking up, couldn't sleep. And then that week I got told about project, one that I've just been to, and they was like, "What, you can? There's this thing called project. It's for 18s to 30s. Go up there, seminars, day of talking, 5 preachers speak, da 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 da." But I had my brother's baby reveal as well the same weekend, and I'm like thinking, I don't want to go to the baby reveal with a black eye because everyone's going to be asking me. So I was like to my brother, I was like, "I'm sorry, I can't come right now. I feel called to God. I feel like I need to go to this. Is for my health and my benefit. I need to go." And well, I'm standing here a year later, and I'm thank God that I did go, because that weekend, as soon as I went, the first preacher that was speaking, she prayed us to leave. There's a 2-hour sermon on Friday night. She prayed us to leave, and she goes, "I've got something that God's talking to me, and I feel like someone in here hasn't been sleeping recently for this week and this, that." And she was just, and I'm sat there like, "Hang on a minute, I haven't been sleeping. I'm listening." And she was like, "I just pray that you literally have a good night's sleep tonight. You're going to sleep like a baby." Da, 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 da. We went back to our hotel. I forgot my sleeping tablets, and I slept. It was the first night I actually had a 6-hour sleep with no sleeping tablets. And yeah, so I woke up the next day buzzing, thinking, yeah, that message was for me. I'm game. Went in the whole day, they were just talking so much sense. It was like it was aimed at me. And had our lunch, went back, and then do you know what? He's like, if you feel like this sermon's been for you, or this weekend's you, the whole thing was about boldness and faith. Before this, I was looking at people like, how are they putting their hands up? Why are they getting on their knees? And he was like, if you feel like you've had a pull for the Holy Spirit this weekend, I want you to come to the front. We want to pray for you. Went to the front with my boy and another boy called. But we were the first 3 that stood up and went. And it was like, "Thanks for being bold." And as soon as I said that, the whole church just led to the front. And we got down on our knees. And I'm like praying, and I'm saying, "Lord, please take me away from this life. I do not want to follow this line anymore. I want to follow you." Um, and it was just, I felt it, and it just wasn't enough. I won't say in my core issues, traumas, scars, yeah. And I just grabbed all the gas on, and I was just like, "Lord, like, you know what we've been through. You know what you've taken us from. We want you to take us far in this life. We want to give our all to you." And I was like, all that my mum put me through. As soon as I said that, I just started like sobbing. Me and like sobbing on the floor like babies for about 10 minutes straight, consistent cries. And after I stood up, I was like, my God. Like, so straight away, I'm thinking, well, that is because this weekend was actually been about like the Holy Spirit and being touched by it and being gifted with tongues and da da da. And that was the first time that you can get baptized by water, but that was, I know that that core feeling was a baptizing by the Spirit. It flooded me. I just let it all out. And from that day, that guy prophesied over me and Gaston. He said, "I see leaders in you too. Now, like the Lord's told me to come over to you too, and there's a leadership in your life." And it's crazy that we really can't fathom God's timing, because 12 months later, the church put me and Gaston on a leadership course. I had no idea that he'd even said that. Leadership course a week before I go back to project. And it's like, do you know what I mean? Like 1,000 years is a day to the Lord, yeah? So when he prophesied that, it already got put into play, but it took 12 months for it to happen. But for us, it was 12 months, but to the Lord, it was a blink of an eye. And yeah, so I didn't clock until it was a week before projects. I'm thinking, raw, it's been a year. Mate, you said that a year ago, and we just come off of a leadership course. So this weekend has been absolutely, like last 2 weeks, been absolutely magical. Thanks to the Jubilee Plus team, like they've flooded us with so much information, the discernment, the amount that I've learned, and the amount that I now know where I can use my bruises and past scars to put out there to aim for them people that are lost and have come from that background of drugs, the party scene, that, do you know what I mean, the YOLO lifestyle. And I know now know that God has put me through all them things because I can use them things for his glory. And I just thank him every day that that has been the case. And I just know now that the faith that I have that he will light every step that I take is stronger than ever. But the most of all thing I know now is that the word is so important. It is our double-edged sword. And without it, we really don't know how to fight off the enemy. We get lost in culture, we get lost in the world. And yeah, I just think that he has put it in my heart to want to be in the word all the time. I'd rather be a recluse in my bedroom than be the it boy that I was. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather be a loner, yeah, but also surround myself around people that are godly and that want to strive as far as I want to strive, because at the end of the day, that's where you're going to get your strength, and that is where the house is built on rock and not on sand. And it's actually crazy because a guy that was at the church prophesied on me again this year, and he turns around to me and he goes, "I see you worshiping," and there was there's two of them done it. One of them come up to me and said, "I see you like a stag, a deer," and he said it's not like you're anxious to be able to stand there and be put out, but he says, "I feel like the Lord's telling me that you need to be open more by yourself in your room. Yeah, be open more in the word, go more into it." He said, because you're going towards that water, but like you said, that the water's right there. And he said, he just wants you, he said, "I'm just praying for you now that you strive to take a sip of that living water." And then another guy said the same thing, not the same thing, but it was like, "I'm seeing you preaching, and I've just got a word for you that is literally like, I can see that you're going to go down to the corners, the darkest corners of this earth. You're going to go down to the darkest people of this earth. You're going to touch the drug dealers. You're going to touch the people that have come from that lifestyle. And when two or three come together, there will be movement." And he said that God has got a team for you. He said you just need to carry on with your stride, carry on aiming towards where you're going, and that team will be put in your place. And I thought it was crazy because I passed him my book after that, and he was literally like, "It's crazy you prophesied that over me, because that is exactly what I've been through, and that's exactly where I want to go to, and that's the people that I want to aim for." And he's just like, "Wow, do you know what I mean? It's of God, right?" And yeah, so I just thank God for the weekend that I've had. I thank God that what He's brought me from and where He's taken me to. I pray that He literally keeps my head from looking left and right and down that straight narrow path to His glory, and He uses me as His vessel to grab the discipleship of others, grab the, do you know what I mean? Grab all these people that he puts me in, and he lights every step towards that. And I know that I will be glorified in his name. Amen.